guys, welcome back to another podcast. The Cornucopia
No, we're the Bros.
The Bros. Jesus Christ, I take 2 weeks off. How are you guys?
All that homeowning you're doing.
It's definitely a lot of homeowning. Getting smells out of my house is that are trapped. But this is one of your bros, Aaron.
And I'm your other bros, Jacob.
And on this week, we're going to talk about bad movies. Now, let's define what a bad movie is.
I think it's a movie you watch once and then you find no value in watching again.
Or when you're watching it, you're kind of like, you're checking your phone a lot of the times.
You're also, if you're in a movie theater, you're eyeing the exit, like, pleadingly. Like,
have you ever? I don't think we ever watched a bad movie in a theater where we're like the exit, because
there was one that I'm like, man, I kind of just want to leave right now.
Is that on our list right now?
It's on our list.
Okay, I think I know which one it is. It's at the third act.
It's the third act.
Okay, I know exactly which one.
That
was probably the only one.
I was kind of like, man, I just kind of want to not be here now.
We'll save that one for last because I think that one's probably the most egregious movie of.
And the sad thing is, we watched that one for free.
Yeah, well, you used to work at a theater.
Yeah,
I don't think there's ever been any. Like I said, we don't go to movies often, and for the most part, I don't think there's any movie where I'm like, where I want to leave because of how much how much it cost to go into the theater to sit there.
I mean, it's like what, $10 to get in.
Well,
and that's if you're not getting like refreshments.
Yeah, $50 of food. But so some of these movies, you might like, and that's fine. And keep in mind, it's just our opinion, Yeah. A lot of these movies are just kind of like, and a lot of them were kind of like, they had some stink when they came out. Not like they were already casting the wrong.
Yeah.
So there might be a couple on there. But I'll go first. We'll start with the. Oh, and our different. We're not gonna pick.
We're not gonna put like The Room and Birdemic on here.
Yeah, like obviously like terrible movies, but also they're so terrible, but they're so good at the same time. If you're watching with people,
that's kind of why I said like there's no value to go back and watch it again because like I've seen The Room 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah.
And I would probably sit
down.
Hi,
Mark.
I would probably sit down and watch it again and laugh at the same jokes.
I think but this movie right here won't save it. It's Avengers of Justice.
Yes.
Which takes it has no affiliation. It's basically a parody movie, but it's so boring that even when we were watching it together, I mean, we got laughs out of it, but it was kind of like the laughs of like
they were kind of exasperated laughs. Like it's like I get what they're going for, but it's not funny.
So I saw this I probably would have picked it. I don't know if I would have picked it up right away, but this is about the time I was picking up like any Marvel movie, any DC movie that I was interested in, and this had on the cover Shawn Michaels, who looks like Yoda.
Okay, so if you hadn't gotten the name, what it's parodying from the name yet, it's the Avengers and Justice League. And I think there was some sort of subtitle to it as well. That was some other thing. And it's basically just a subpar hero family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really boring. I think the mom is from Crank. Because I looked her up because I'm like, well, she looks familiar, but...
But anyway, the worst parts of the movie is whenever Shawn Michaels was on screen.
He was the most boringest part.
Because it almost seemed like he didn't want to be there.
I think he was just collecting a paycheck, to be honest with you.
It really felt like...
Because he basically played, like I said, he was like the Hulk, but he was a Yoda. So it was like, it had a bit of Star Wars in there, and the villain was just lackluster. The villain, I think he's been in some other things too.
What was the villain's plan? I forgot.
I think he wanted to capture the father's son and turn him evil.
Right, for revenge or some nonsense. It was dumb.
So the movie's just terrible.
It wasn't even like good funny bad acting. It was just bad acting.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just looking at this. which ones do I actually know much about? So I talked about it a few weeks ago on the Cornucopia cast. The final Resident Evil, the final chapter.
Oh, yes.
Hell, I would just put 3 through fucking 6 on that. Like, 3 isn't bad, but it's not good. But you can tell it's starting to dip in quality, and then as it goes on, you're like,
I'd probably say, without remembering, I'd probably say 5 and 6. 3 was like, whatever.
5 had the issue of, it set up something. It got all your favorite game characters together in one room, and then decided, nah, we're not doing that.
Well, okay, so this one, I didn't do any research on these movies. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember that movie, that one sucked. But I think that one had like a 5-year gap between.
I think so.
And I was like, well, because I was interested in the Resident Evil series, not the games, but the movies.
Yeah, because Chapter 5 came out. Interestingly enough, the 5th one came out the exact day I started working at the theater.
Oh yeah.
I was working opening night for that one.
But it's like...
And then, 5 years later, they make the final chapter.
It left on a huge cliffhanger. I'm like, oh, I hope they resolve. I hope they actually get the money, even though it's probably never gonna live up to what we're leaving it on. But then they start off and like, you tell it better about the Wesker thing.
So, at the end of the 5th movie, they've got Wesker. They've got
which, if anybody doesn't know, Wesker's like the huge villain of Resident Evil.
Up until 5. But he still gets brought up in all the other, like, sequel games.
Yeah.
So, Wesker's got this plan where he's gathered all of the actual characters from the games. Like, he's got Jill Valentine, Leon S. Kennedy, Alice. She's not from the games. She's from the movie. She's the OC, Please Do Not Steal.
I'm disappointed they never made Alice into the games.
And then, I think they've got, like, 2 other people there at the end of it, and they're like, this is our last stand. And then cut to the next movie, and it's just Alice coming out of like a locker. And the entire place, so they're at the White House, and just the entire White House is decimated. And she's like, well, I guess it's time to go back to Raccoon City. And so the whole movie is leading up to her going back, and then you think you're gonna get like this cool brawl with like Wesker and whatnot, and no, he gets taken out by a fucking door. Like, Wesker, you're fired. Oh well, I'm the robot now. The robot can't harm her, or the AI can't harm Wesker because he's an employee. But he gets fired verbally, not in paperwork or anything. And she's like, "Well, you're no longer an employee. I no longer have to protect you."
If he was smart, he would have said that, and the computer would be like, "Oh shit."
So he gets his foot crushed, and then Alice just hands him a grenade, a live grenade, and is like, yeah, if you just hold the pin in there, you won't die. And then she leaves, and he just sits there begging for his life. And I'm like, you did Wesker dirty.
Yeah.
You did him.
Well, I remember, too. Then they're like, oh, yeah, this is also a horror, I'm using air quotes, horror movie. So we have to kill off a bunch of people. So Alice just comes in contact with like a group, and like they're all just cannon slaughter. Like, yep, you're dying, you're dying, you're dying, you're dying.
Except for one guy who survives, and then he dies because he's a double agent. And they're like, "How'd you know?" He's like, "How'd you know I was the double agent?" And she's like, "Because you're the only one left.
Because I read the script.
You were literally the only guy alive. Somehow you managed to avoid all the odds." But you must be the bad guy.
I just remember the one scene that sticks out in that movie. Because it's funny, because I forget about Wesker's even in that movie.
Yeah, because he's just at the end.
It's the guy crawling through an air vent. And then the air vent opens. And then it closes, like he falls down and he's like holding onto the air. Maybe it's not an air vent, but it's like an air duct or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he's holding on to it. And then the bars or something goes back up and crushes his fingers. And then there's just like, the movie zooms out and it's just a long fall to the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm like, where the fuck are we even at right now? Where is this air duct?
Yeah, and the best part is, in that same air duct, there's multiple different paths you can take that drop you in a different room.
Yeah.
Because, like, 3 of them fall into one room with all the big zombies, and then Claire falls into a different room where she's just in a cage. and
it's just that movie.
She makes like a gunpowder bomb to kick her way out, and she's like, "Wow, this sucks." It was not very good.
No. All right, so we'll move on to. I'm going to do a 3-parter right here.
All right.
You'll get it after.
Just pick movies on this list that I can't talk about.
You'll get it right after I say it. So, Daddy's Home 2, Ted 2, and Neighbors 2. What they all have in common? They're all sequels that are shit.
Oh, I was thinking they're all like Seth MacFarlane projects. I think it's only Ted 2. That's
yeah. I was gonna say Seth Rogen is Ted Neighbors 2, and then what's curly hair?
Jonah Hill?
Not Jonah Hill.
Which movie is this? Daddy's Home.
Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell. Wow, I can't believe it. So Daddy's Home 2 is Daddy's Home 2, Ted 2, and Neighbors 2 are essentially all the same plots of the first movies, except Daddy's Home 2 is, well, we're gonna go to it's a Christmas movie.
Oh, good.
So we're gonna go to this cabin, and basically if you watch number 1, so we haven't done that trope in a long time.
I know.
I gotta get me an RC. But
yeah, tell them what I'm drinking.
Hey, maybe we'll get a sponsor out of it. Yeah. We are the longest running weekly episodic podcast.
I mean, we might be.
I mean, I might.
At this point, we might be. I think we've tied up, actually.
I think we're tied right now.
Anyway.
But, so basically, Daddy's Home is every single plot point from the very first movie is in number 2.
Oh, good.
It's just in the winter time. And so another recurring theme for this is John.
Wait, is it still Will Ferrell versus
No, now it's Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Okay, so they're teaming up against
John Cena. I think because John Cena comes at the very end. So at the first one, Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are against each other.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, they find their Will Ferrell, I think, marries a new woman, and then Mark Wahlberg marries Will Ferrell's ex-wife, and then or something. I don't remember exactly, but then he also has a step kid now, and then John Cena shows up in the picture, and he's like, "What's up?" And then it ends, and then in number 2, it's like Will Ferrell or Mark Wahlberg's like he's trying to redeem himself from the first movie. But he's still kind of an asshole to Will Ferrell. But like he hates just John Cena. It's just terrible.
It sounds really dumb. It sounds like a tie-in movie. Like John Cena needed something to do for a weekend, so they decided.
No, they're just like, hey, let's try and make the next Christmas. Because, ever since, what's that one that's on every year at Christmas? It's Chevy Chase, Christmas Vacation, or whatever it's called.
National Lampoon one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I don't watch that one. I don't watch any of the Christmas movies.
if you're gonna watch if we're gonna watch one, it's either Home Alone or the National Lampoon, because it's like
not Christmas with the Cranks.
Christmas with the
Because I know you guys watch that all the time.
Is that with
That's the one with Tim Allen.
Okay, so that's
the one where they're like, yo, my daughter's not going to be here, so we're not doing Christmas. We're going on a cruise.
So that's like another. So Elf, Christmas with the Cranks, National Lampoon, Home Alone, and there's like
one Die Hard.
Yeah, like they're like all companies. So like all these companies try to get in and like we gotta get our Christmas. So that's what I think what Daddy's Home 2 was. Ted 2 is essentially Ted wants to get married. And I think they did call. I think Hasbro put money into this, but Hasbro's like, wait a minute, that Ted toy, that's our property. He can't get married. So then they go on this long chase for Mark Wahlberg to save.
Wait, is Mark Wahlberg in that one too?
Yeah, I think because he's the. Is he the
okay?
Which I didn't think about.
Mark Wahlberg is a running theme in this.
Oh yeah, he'll show up again. And I like Mark Wahlberg. I like his acting. I like that he's like a tough guy. Like I would never want to fight Mark Wahlberg. Like, that dude looked like he'd punch your fucking head right off. But, like, I do find him funny. And like I said, not all these movies, like, they have their moments. Ted 2 doesn't. But, like, so Ted finds this girl and, like, he's like, yeah, I want to marry you or something like that. And there's a scene where they're fucking, which is the funniest thing. Like, you have to have a fuck.
I mean, you have to, yes.
A teddy bear has to fuck something.
I mean, they were so preoccupied on whether they could, they didn't think about whether they should.
So that's all I know is that Hasbro is like, yeah, we can get this toy and we can make a lot of money off it. And then Hasbro loses, and then Ted gets married. And no, maybe they get. I might be misremembering. They might have gotten married.
It's Ted 2. Who cares?
That was not one of those movies where I'm like, wow, I kept looking at my phone because I'm like, this is not fun. And then Neighbors 2 is essentially who's the sexy boy from high school?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron moves out, and then a new sorority moves in, and it's all a bunch of girls. And Seth Rogen, they're trying to sell this house, and they're like, hey girls, if you don't party for like 1 week or 1 month, we just got this house sold, and you can do whatever you want. And of course the girls are like, this is our fucking time to party. And so it's basically all the same beats that number one was, except now Zac Efron's on Team Rogan, but then he jumped ship because he's like, dude, these girls like to party. He's like, and I got nothing going for me, and that's all I'm good for is partying. So,
oh my god.
So he starts to party.
I didn't even like the first Neighbors.
The first Neighbors, I mean, it wasn't like, okay, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, okay, it's interesting, nice premise.
I don't know. That was one I'm like, this is dumb. Because that's the one where he's like, hey, listen, if you have a problem with us, please come talk to us. Don't call the cops on us.
Yeah, and then
he calls the cops on them, and the cops are like, yeah, your neighbor called us. Just like immediately sells them out. And then they have these stupid hijinks of, oh, well, you called the cops on us, so guess what?
Well, now it's wartime. But yeah, so that's basically that one. So
looking at this list, I'm running out of things that I know about, but let's talk about Lucy.
Okay. Yeah, Lucy, it starts off good.
It feels like it's very pseudoscience. Like it really tries, because they get Morgan Freeman to narrate.
I think he's in the movie.
Yeah, he's in it. Like, he's actually like a character and whatnot, but they get him to narrate like, oh, what if humans used more than 10% of their minds?
Yeah, and then it just
and then apparently achieving 100% mind usage turns into a flash drive.
Yes, that I remember watching the end and I'm like, where the fuck are we going with this?
Although my favorite scene is the one like right before the climax where all the police are outside of the museum, and right behind them is a literal gun show. Just all the entire gang going in there with like their assault rifles and everything, and the police just don't even notice.
Well, we need that flash drive.
So what happens is they come up with this ingenious way to transport drugs without getting caught, and that's just by like planting a bag inside of somebody, and then you get them to where they need to be, and then a doctor there will surgically remove that bag from them. But what happens is Lucy gets beat up, and the bag breaks inside of her, giving her superpowers and the ability to defy gravity somehow at 15% of her. Once you hit 15% mind power, you are allowed to defy gravity. But like once.
Yeah, the movie it has an interesting structure. Like, that's the one thing I want to say about. I think this is the only movie that's on there that actually tries something different, and
it tries to show some B-roll. And
well,
just add up the time.
Right, but what I'm saying is like there's a lot of people go, well, why isn't there like anything like with video games or with movies like, why don't they? Why does Hollywood in the game industry keep doing the same stuff over? Because every time we try something new,
We laugh at it.
we laugh at it and we go, "Well, that sucked," and then the company goes, "Oh, I guess we should have stuck." So I appreciate what they did with.
Yeah, I guess.
All I just remember is just that ending. I'm like, really? She's a flash drive now?
I mean, don't forget about the part where she goes through time and, like, I don't know if the people can see her or not.
Yeah,
She's in an office chair.
It made no sense.
And then she's in Times Square, and then there's monkeys. And then, yeah, it's very weird, and I don't understand it.
I guess the next movie is Batman and Harley Quinn. If you guys listen to the Cornucopia cast, I talked about this a couple. Well, when I watched it, there's a lot of funny parts to the movie. It's animated Batman. It's in the style I like, where the eyes are like white and they have like giant black eyes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like the old animated series.
yeah, like the early, like the late '90s, early 2000s type anime. And so like there's a scene where Robin, I think it's either Robin or Nightwing. I'm
We're the same guy. Who cares?
Harley Quinn's basically, and it's funny if it happens to a man because whatever. But like basically, Harley Quinn's like, yeah, the only way that you're gonna get information out of me is if you fuck me. And Robin's like, no, I don't want to do that. And she's like, well, I think you're pretty hard down there, anyways. So, and this is like, okay, reverse that, it wouldn't probably be as funny, but
No, reverse that, and you would have so many lawsuits.
But so basically, Batman's like, I can't get a hold of Robin, and so he ends up. He tracks where he's last known, and he ends up breaking the door down, and like it sounds like they're fighting, but it's Harley Quinn tickling Robin.
Oh.
And so there's a whole scene where there's like they go to this bar and they get information. Harley Quinn's like, well, I know some people. And so she starts talking, because Poison Ivy teams up with this guy. I don't know who he's like. He's not the Thing, but he's like another grass guy from
it's not Swamp Thing.
It's not Swamp Thing, but he's a grass guy from like a different dimension, and he basically wants to like put his DNA or something into the water system, so everybody turns into a plant.
Oh, that guy sounds fun at parties.
But like Batman's like to Poison Ivy's like, you don't know if that's gonna work because it could end up backfiring and killing everybody. And Poison Ivy's like, well, it's a chance.
Acceptable losses.
So they go, and this is probably the best part of the movie, is they go to this bar, and there's a scene where these two guys are singing, and like this guy was like looking at Batman, and he's like over here dancing. It's the funniest. It's weird, and he moves up on Batman, and he starts like almost kind of like touching it, like.
So he just gyrates on him?
Yeah, kind of almost close to gyrating on him. And Batman's like, doesn't say anything. He just punches him to like the left. And it starts like bar fight. But then Batman, Nightwing, or Robin, and Harley Quinn all end up winning. But
yeah, of course.
But there's a scene where Harley actually has to sing, and I think that's when the bar fight happens or something like that. I don't know. It's like I said, the ending. It's just okay. So the ends with the Swamp Thing coming out of they go to this forest, and it ends with Swamp Thing coming out going, "Hey, don't be doing this shit because, I'm the Swamp Thing, and if you fuck over this, it's gonna fuck over me." And then the green alien or whatever, I don't know the fuck he is. It's just a giant leaf, and a bunch of leaves on him. But it ends up. Swamp Thing ends up going back down, and the guy's like, "No, I'll still do it."
Of course.
And then Harley Quinn's like, we can't beat this guy. But then she pulls out a match, and it ends. And it starts going with credits, and then it shows the green guy running on fire. And then it ends there. I'm like, well, that's the stupidest fucking thing.
We ran out of budget.
We ran out of time, and we're like, well, let's ship it.
We got it to feature length. We don't need any more.
And this other movie, it's I don't think I put it on there. I think I forgot. But Captain Marvel. So this is like a two-parter. It's Captain Marvel, which both of us and Kenny watched, and we all both, without saying anything, after
we were all kind of thinking the same thing.
But the movie was just nothing happened.
Yeah, it was.
There was nothing to the movie that was like.
There wasn't anything that just like felt like, oh man, that was really cool. It was just like, yeah, I guess. I mean, sure. Yeah, I think there were aliens, all right, and she punched them, and they blew up, and they died. And...
I think the problem with the movie was it came out after Endgame.
No, it came out before.
Oh, Infinity War. Infinity War came out after Infinity War, and so it takes place before. I think it's the second movie in the timeline.
Second or third?
Because I think it goes Captain America, and then Captain Marvel.
It takes place in the 90s. It's before, the rest of most of the series.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was nothing. The only thing that came out of the movie is how
Nick Fury got a scar.
Yeah, from a cat. And then the other movie is Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. And this is another movie, like, nothing really happened in the movie. It was directed by... I think Harley Quinn, or I think Margot Robbie directed that one as well, or at least was a co-director or something. But it just came down to it would have been fine if it wasn't about the. I think if they would just focus on like one or two characters instead of having 5 different characters. Like
Aaron, the Birds of Prey are an established group.
Well, they didn't do a good job establishing
that. They decided to, just thrust all 5 of them into a movie without any like build-up. So if you didn't know about them, like it just comes out of left field.
Yeah,
because like they play it pretty straight from what I've seen. They play it pretty straight, and this is like, okay, they're not really like superheroes per se. They're just like.
They're like one tier low.
They're vigilantes like Batman.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're one tier low than the not Doom Squad, Suicide Squad.
And then it actually turns out that like Black Canary actually does have superpowers, but they don't like mention it until the very end.
Where she like yells.
Yeah, and she just shouts everybody to death, and it's like, well, I mean, I knew that going in, but I'm assuming there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know who Black Canary is, so like, it's very weird that she didn't use this shout until the last minute.
Yeah, and it would be interesting because I think Joker is a big part of that movie, but he has no.
Well, I think isn't like the most of the premise like. Harley Quinn and Joker have broken up for the X time. And now they're definitely not getting back together. So everybody's like, well, we don't have to care about you because you're not with Joker.
Yeah, and it's not a movie. It's not bad. It's just I would definitely, if I was gonna pick this between Captain Marvel, if I was gonna be stuck in a room and I had to watch one for the rest of my life, it would be Birds of Prey, because at least Birds of Prey there was interesting. It's just the build up to the characters was just. I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
But going back to Captain Marvel, yeah, we all watched that together, and then so we were gonna marathon the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, yeah. That turned out poorly, but we had watched Captain Marvel, and then we went straight into Iron Man, and Iron Man. I think we'd all seen that.
Yeah,
except maybe Kenny hadn't. I don't know, but. At least between us, we'd seen it, and still the highs were higher than anything that Captain Marvel...
It was interesting. It was like there's a narrative.
I don't know if Captain Marvel just suffered the thing of they didn't know what they were doing with the story.
Well...
And then it introduces the aliens who are like, oh, they can just turn into other people. So it's like, well, should I care? Like, you can kill off any character at this point now and just be like, oh, no, it was actually an alien.
Yeah.
So it's like, well...
Yeah, I think that movie, because I think also Ant-Man and Wasp 2 came out after Infinity War. Because I think there's 3 movies, 2 or 3.
That came out to explain why Ant-Man survived.
And I haven't watched that one yet, but I think that was another one where not a lot of people watched it. Because I think you can't you can't have a high end point for Infinity War and then go, oh yeah, this one these movies, they all take place before Infinity War. And it's like,
well, I think Ant-Man and Wasp take place during Infinity War.
Yeah, or close.
It's really because I think that's what they were like. This is why they didn't show up to help.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, like, Captain Marvel just didn't make me feel anything. I
think that's probably the worst thing because I was like
I didn't even feel like man, this sucks. Like they're like cheesy acting or like the plot's stupid. It's just like I don't care.
Well, I think the other thing too is like then she like becomes like this godlike character.
Yeah, no, that came out of nowhere. Like,
yeah, and it's just like what this whole time.
Yeah, no, she's suppressing all these memories of whatever, and then it's like a lot of bait and switches that they give you because like if you don't know the Captain Marvel lore, you're like, well, I mean,
not a lot of people do, and a lot of people know Captain Marvel for being like one of the guys. I think her character was like she's like a drunk.
Yeah,
and like
something like that. But when I was watching, it's like they're showing flashbacks of her fighting this guy. So I'm like, is Captain Marvel not human? Is she an alien? Because I mean, the aliens look like humans.
Yeah.
Because you can't make non-human looking aliens. But so I'm sitting there, I'm just thinking like, I didn't know what I thought she was. So I'm just. The movie's like, oh, she's part of this race, and then like midway through, like, nah, just kidding. She was actually an aircraft pilot who got exposed to something, and it just bonded with her. So now she has energy powers. Shut up. Thanks for the money. Shut up. And then, yeah, because it goes from one scene where she's trying to control her powers, and then literally the next, she's just dunking on this guy.
Yeah, and then going. Like shooting through ships.
Yeah, and then just tearing through everything, and it's just like, hey, okay, I've got everything lock, stock, and barrel here.
Yeah, we're done. Because I remember, like, there was rumors that she was going to be the one that killed Thanos, and then because I think they filmed her movie after they filmed Endgame.
Yeah, because they were mid-filming it, and they didn't know what to do with her.
Because I remember her character in Endgame 2 was terrible as well.
Yeah, because she just shows up and destroys a ship, and that was it.
But to be fair, it makes sense because if you're filming a movie before you even got into the role of the character, how are you supposed to know how you're?
Yeah.
But and then I didn't add this one, but Terminal is also produced or co-produced, I don't know, by Margot Robbie.
It's something against her?
I
no, I'm kidding.
I like Margot Robbie. Like I thought she was fantastic in The Wolf of Wall Street. But like you're kind of seeing she's a one note, men bad type thing.
Oh no.
Because that's what Harley Quinn was, Birds of Prey, and Terminal is essentially, yeah. If you're a man, you. Okay, so it starts off with this guy who's like waiting for a train, and I don't know where this takes. I don't know if this takes place in Australia or it doesn't take place in America, because the place that they're in makes no sense. Why nobody's even there. They're basically in a subway, but like I don't know. It's like an underground subway, but there's like a diner and stuff. And the guy from you remember what I told you was the guy from I should look up his name. The zombie movie.
Oh yeah, that's gonna help.
Well, it's the comedy zombie movie.
Oh, you're talking about Simon Pegg.
No, not Simon. Is that his name?
That's the actor's name. Yeah, it's Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Okay, yeah. So Simon Pegg is.
I'm pretty sure it's Simon Pegg.
He's got like cancer or something, and so he knows he's gonna die. And so it starts off like you're kind of rooting for this character because he's like, go, because some guys try to rob him, and he's like, first of all, that gun's not loaded, and second of all, you're not gonna stab me with a knife. And the one guy with the gun's like, yeah, you're right, it's not loaded. And the guy with the knife's like, why would you tell him that? And he's like, so if you're not gonna kill me, then just fuck off. And then they leave. So you're rooting for this character, and like he's talking to Margot Robbie, who's the diner girl, and you're getting all his backstory, and she's like, well, how would you want to die? Would you want to die by assassin? Because my boyfriend right now is an assassin, and so like you're getting to to know his character. And also, there's also it starts off with like Margot Robbie talking to somebody in. There's gonna be spoilers from this movie. I don't know when it came out, but I think we should set that up front.
We probably should have said that up front.
I didn't think about it till like talking about Captain Marvel.
We'll just pull like a title card that says, "Hey, there's gonna be spoilers."
Yeah, hold on.
Whatever. These movies came out like more than like a year ago, right?
But like it starts off with Margot Robbie talking to some priest, and she's like, "Hey, I want to work for you," and the priest is like, because the priest like he owns assassins or something. I don't know. It just sets up the premise that he has a crew, and she's like, "Well, if I can kill your crew, will you let me work for you?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you can do that, I will." So there's this young assassin, and there's this older guy who's well versed. And so their plot points are they're kind of starting to butt heads together, where they end up setting it up where the Mr. Franklin, who is the priest, who is, I won't give it away until the very end, but who is the janitor that's in the movie but he's like, yeah, if you assassinate this person and then you assassinate your partner, I'll give you twice as much money. And so the guy's like, sure. And then they end up recording him, and then the janitor gives it to the young guy, and he's like, yeah, your partner's going to assassinate you for extra money, so you should assassinate him first. So they're sitting in a room for like 15 days, and then they're like, all right, target's here. So the older guy goes out to the window, is about ready to snipe the person, and it's Margot Robbie. And he's like, what the fuck? What's this blonde hair girl doing here? And there's a couple things I missed, but she's basically the main point of how they got to where they're at right now. And so the young guy is like, hey, you're not going to kill her because she's my girlfriend. And the young guy ends up killing the old guy. And then Margot Robbie ends up killing the young guy because she's like, oh, I was just using you. And then going back to Simon Pegg, you find out that he used to be a teacher or an instructor. I don't know, some type of guidance over Margot Robbie, and he basically tortured her. So this character that you're like laughing with, like, yeah, I'm about to die, whatever. Margot Robbie's like, yeah, you finally remember me? He's like, oh shit, and then she ends up killing him. And then you find out that the janitor is the head guy, who is the priest, who is played by Michael Myers. And so
Michael Myers or Mike Myers?
Or Mike Myers.
Because those are two different guys.
Yeah, as I said, I'm like, that doesn't sound right, but it's Mike Myers. And you find out that Harley Quinn, she basically plays like the psycho girl. You find out that she has a twin sister, and she's like, oh yeah, you left me, Dad, because you killed our mom. And so she ends up killing her dad, and then walks off
into the sunset.
In the movie, like I said, I was watching that movie, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And I think the final movie that's on,
you got
well, I know
two more before our final one.
Oh,
I've got one more.
Okay, Riders. It's an FBI movie. It stars Batista. That's the only reason. It stars Batista and oh fuck, I know it's not John McClane.
Oh,
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And
I was getting there.
All it is basically it's these FBI agents trying to stop a bank heist or something like that. And there's like a person working with it, or in the group that's a mole. Movie's boring. I only bought it because Batista was in it. And then my final movie that I got, and I'll let you go with your final movie, then we'll talk about the final movie. Is Scoob. Spoilers for this movie. The movie is basically just... Okay, the one thing that I think is the coolest thing they did. You remember the old... I don't remember what decade it was. I don't know if it's 70s or 80s intro. But it's like... it's got where like Scoop's hiding in like a barrel, and he pops out and he looks, and there's this guy with the robot. Mm-hmm. They remade that whole entire opening in 3D.
All right.
So it's basically whatever like whatever that opening was, everything in that opening was in the new one. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it ends up it's Scooby and Shaggy, how they meet, and then how they meet Fred and Daphne and Velma, and then Simon Cowell's in the movie. He's like, yes, I'm going to take you guys to the next level, but your two friends over there, just pointing at Scooby and Shaggy, they're going to drag you down, and basically it starts a tear between Shaggy and Scooby because like, yeah, we don't need them, and they're like, yeah, that's right. So then the Blue Falcon, who is the son of the Blue Falcon, who's also a doofus,
of course,
he's fucking stupid. He picks him up and then he's like, "Oh, Scooby, you're the one that Dick Dastardly's chasing after. You're the main you're like the person that we need." Then so then, for some fucking stupid reason, Shaggy gets like all butthurt about how Scooby's like the chosen one.
Well, you see, Shaggy didn't see the title of the movie,
and it's just like, Shaggy, get the fuck, like, usually you kind of like, you don't root for the character, but you're like, yeah, I can see, like, Shaggy just like, because Scoob is getting a costume made that protect him, and so he has to take off his necklace, or the Scooby thing that Shaggy gave him, that Shaggy gave him, and Shaggy's like, well, I guess if we take it off, I mean, it's like, shut the fuck up, Shaggy. And then
no, dog collars are meant to stay on forever.
And then does the fucking thing that pisses me off the most. Dick actually ends up opening a portal to this world because he wants to get this goal. And it's funny because he tells somebody, and I remember who he's talking to. He's like, yeah, I tried to stop the dog that goes from going in the portal, and he's the one that pushing him in the portal. So as he's telling a story, this flashback is like not matching up with what he's saying. So he ends up opening this portal to this other world to get this gold, and then this three-headed dog Cerberus comes out, and so the only way to lock Cerberus back in this thing is either the dog or the human has to be on the other side, and then the other one they both put their hands on this lock, and so it ends up Shaggy's like, I'll sacrifice myself, so he ends up blocking it, and then the statue comes out of nowhere. And then Cerberus kicks Shaggy out of it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm back." And I was like, "Oh my god,
I hate this."
Yeah,
you didn't explain any of this to me last time.
Oh well,
this is all new to me. It's just sounding dumber and dumber by the minute.
Yes,
because that is not Dick Dastardly's MO in literally anything else.
Well, Dick Dastardly comes back, and because the robots, he has a bunch of robots that work for him, and because he's, I'm using air quotes, abusive towards them. They end up falling in love with Daphne.
Oh my!
And so
it's getting worse.
And so like the robot's like, "Oh, we'll work for you, Daphne." And they end up getting and they take off the mask and it's Simon Cowell.
Wait, Simon Cowell was Dick Dastardly?
Well, and they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then they rip off the mask and it's just Dick Dastardly again.
Okay.
And he's like, they never go for the double mask. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think they've done that before, yes.
I think they have to like triple mask or something.
I can't believe Dick Dastardly was actually Simon Cowell, who was actually Dick Dastardly.
Yes.
Guys.
And Dick Dastardly also played a hot officer that Fred was like confused. He's like, because he ends up ripping off the mask. Dick Dastardly takes off the woman mask, and Fred's like, but she was cute. I'm so confused. That was just whatever. But that's basically that movie. So we'll go with.
So my last movie before the final movie is Doom Annihilation, and so I went in with zero expectations. I figured it was going to be bad. It was. Like, I don't know a lot about Doom lore. I played Doom 2016, and that was it.
Well, fun fact about this movie, it was so bad that the creators of Doom, or id, had to come out and say, we have no affiliation with this movie.
But anyway, like, so the movie tries to be both Alien and Resident Evil. And the biggest thing it does wrong is it tells you how many people are in the base on the moon. They're like, yeah, there's like 90 people up here. And then it proceeds to go into, like, a kill montage. And you're just, like, watching, you're like, okay, that's more than 90 people. You've killed more than 90 zombies at this point. They turn into zombies, by the way. They get their souls sucked out. And they turn into zombies. And, you know, Doom, the game with the guns where you run around shooting things, run and gun, that's literally all you do. There's so much, like, martial arts in that movie. Like, they do the whole fucking Resident Evil school of it's like, well, what if you just break their neck, like, with a neck snap? Like, you just snap their neck, and that's how they die.
The weirdest thing that you did that, and there was, like, almost like a snap sound that came out.
Because I hit my knuckles.
Oh, you hit your knuckles? Was that intentional?
No, it wasn't.
I hope that picked it up, because I'm like, you did it, and it was like a... I'm like, wow, he's getting really into that.
You see, I actually just killed our producer. I had to show the neck.
Well, we can't say that because they know it's our cats. They're still alive. Where is that little bugger Kenny at?
Probably outside.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, like...
Where he'll get head snapped at you.
But one of the best scenes in the entire movie is just this dude. And he's like, I am the ultimate nightmare! And then he literally eats shit and dies.
Well, he is the ultimate nightmare.
He's killing it, he's mowing down the zombie things, and then just one comes from off screen and kills him. And I'm like, well, that was unfortunate.
I wonder, okay, not the... Did you ever watch the first Doom?
The one with The Rock?
Yeah.
No.
Because The Rock is the villain of the first one.
Is he?
Yeah, he ends up being the hero. He's a hero, and then he like goes mad.
Oh.
And then he turns into a villain. And he's essentially like that because they end up killing him off. So I wonder if that was supposed to be a reference to The Rock.
It might have been.
That's not like.
I mean, he was the biggest guy in the group.
I don't think he was jacked back then. He's not like.
Well, the guy.
I think he still fit through doors without having.
the guy in Annihilation was the biggest guy of the group.
Okay. And
then, like, yeah, they just. There's like a team of like 10 Marines, and they all die one by one, and then the demons are like hackers, and they hack the ship so the ship lands on the moon base, and when it puts down like its little like exhaust chute so the people can climb into the escape hatch or whatever, like somehow that connects it to the moon's or the moon base's servers. Oh, and the demons are just like, well, you know, in 2001: A Space Odyssey, how there's a ship and it's got the rogue AI or whatever, and it's well, anyway, it's like that.
Okay.
So the ship becomes a rogue AI, and it's like the guy's like, hey, we're leaving. We're going to try to go up to space to get a signal out for help, and she's like, you can't leave. No one leaves. And then just some random demons just hanging out on the ship and kills the pilot.
Nice.
And so the Marines are coming back because they're like, fuck this. This place is fucked. We're leaving. And they come back and the ship is doing the whole like, oh, I'm on your team. And she's like, the main character's like, so where's the captain at? And she's like, oh, he's on the bridge. So she goes up there, and the captain's just dead on the bridge. Like, he's just, like, in the corner. And she's like, so what happened? And she's like, the same thing that's going to happen to you. And the demon just jumps out behind. Like, he was hiding behind a chair or something.
He was getting a birthday present. Surprise!
And, like, oh, it's so bad. And just, they really wanted to make Resident Evil, but in space, it feels like. And then, like, they go into the demon hell world, and the guy's like, yes, my children will take over the Earth again, because that was kind of we fucked up, and we used to be the owners of Earth, and then we decided to leave, and now humans are there, and we should have killed them years ago. And he's making this grand speech, and she just shoots him dead. And then she just bails. And then I think they're setting up for a sequel, or at least they tried.
Well, I hope so. Sounds good.
Because this whole thing happens because they've set up these portals to travel between the moon on Mars to Earth. And so she gets... And what happens is you have to travel through the hell world to use these portals. And she ends up on Earth, and she's like, hey, you gotta close these portals. there was like shit going down. You need to close them, and the scientist is like, nah, it's fine. You should have there should have been a lead scientist coming with you. And she's like, no, you have to close these. I'm not going to explain it. You just have to close these. And so they trank her, and then it makes the gurgling noise like somebody's coming out of the portal. I'm like, oh, that must be the scientist. And then it was demons. And then the credits roll.
Oh, nice.
And then in the credits, they're listing off the names of the songs. And one of them's called Buyer Beware. And it makes me smile because I feel like that should have been on the box art. They should have just had that in big bold letters.
Buyer Beware. Don't buy this.
And it was not very good.
Just sounds like a good movie.
No.
Sounds like the best thing we talked about.
It was a super, like, they tried to do suspense, and Doom is not suspense. Doom is, just like
in your face.
High octane, shoot demons in the face, and well,
rip and tear.
Yes,
as that one guy sings.
Yeah, rip and tear until it's done, and well, there is no ripping and tearing.
It was ripping and tearing it out of your wall.
I mean, yeah,
got your money, bitch.
But that's Doom Annihilation. It sucked.
But did it suck as much as Pain and Gain?
I mean, I didn't want to leave midway through. Unlike Pain and Gain, where, like, at the last third of the movie, man, that exit sign looked really appealing.
So, this stars The Rock, Mark Wahlberg.
And some other guy.
And some other guy that... And I don't know if we knew... I know we didn't... I know we didn't know going into the movie that it was based off of real events, and I don't.
Yeah, because from what I remember, all the advertisements that I had seen for it, it was supposed to be. It made it seem like it was a comedy.
Yeah, and I remember because I was like, because you were working in theater, and it was like, oh, it's a free movie.
And it's like, oh, that looks kind of funny because like there's this scene where they're trying to abduct this guy, but they're failing at it. Like they're the Home Alone villains.
Yeah.
Like, and they're doing it to, like, whimsical music, too. Like, oh, man, we didn't get him in the back of the truck. We'll have to try again somewhere along the line. But...
And then at a point, you see how... Because I think now they're in hiding at this point. Like, they're...
Yeah, so the first half, or the first chunk of the movie is them trying to get rich by abducting this millionaire who happens to frequent Mark Wahlberg's gym.
Yeah.
Because he's a personal trainer or whatever, and so they're trying to abduct him and take his money because they feel like they deserve it more. The second half is them hamming it up because now they have his money. The third half, the third part of the movie, which is the part where it's like, man, I kind of wish this would just end.
I wish it would have ended at the...
Is now they are covering their tracks. And they're in hiding, and they're just doing some of the most fucked up things.
And keep in mind, they're still trying to make you laugh at this point.
They're still trying to be like, yeah, you should be rooting for these guys.
The scene that it's stuck in my head, and this is where I was like, what the fuck are we watching, is when The Rock is grilling the guy's hand.
Yes, The Rock fucking cuts off the dude's hands, and literally grills them.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
And it's like, that's not funny. And I think they're still trying to ham it up at that point. Like, they're still trying to be like, no, it's funny. Trust us. And then, like, the credits roll. And
it's based off a true story.
And then they're like, yes, and this is who they're based on. And it's telling you all the fucked up things they did.
Yeah, and I remember just watching that and going like, did we just watch, like, a snuff film turned into a Hollywood film?
And, yeah, no, because it's like... It's like detailing all the things that they did, and like, it's like, yeah, and now he's serving life in jail. It's like, and you wanted me to laugh at him in the first part of the movie because he couldn't abduct the guy properly.
Yeah,
and then now you're telling me, no, this was real.
Yeah,
this happened.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's the only movie I've ever watched where I just felt. I know it sounds cheesy, but I felt dirty after watching that movie.
I did too. I felt uncomfortable. Like it really should have ended after the part where they got rich and they were hamming it up.
Or they should have said, "Oh, it's based off real things."
Yeah, maybe
not based off an actual like the actual thing.
Maybe put that like disclaimer in the intro or something like, hey,
yeah, because
this kind of some fucked up shit in here.
Like Mark Wahlberg, The Rock, they're two kind of comedians. They can do comedian roles.
Yeah, it's either action or comedy. For
that's
them,
why I was like interested in the movie, and I'm like, let's go fucking see it. And then it's just like, okay,
yeah,
and this movie just got like, it's probably the worst movie. And I own it. I own it. I was going through a thing where I'm like, okay, if I've seen a movie, I have to own it at least, even if I hate the movie. I'm like, well, I'll still own it. And I waited for it to be in the $3 bin at Walmart, and I'm like, oh, but
yeah, no, it was a movie that I hated, and I saw it for free.
Yeah,
and
that was the movie where I'm like, we could probably go and not have to buy. I don't know.
The thing that sucked about when we went is we went with one of my friends who also worked there. And it just kind of felt awkward to, just like get up midway through the movie and leave while he was sitting next to us.
Was that Nathan?
No.
Not Nathan? Okay.
No. But, yeah. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons we stayed is because he was with us and like, well, I don't want to just like leave you in here by yourself.
Did we talk about, I don't think we talked about Tim after.
I think when we were walking out, we were like, man, that was kind of fucked up. And he's like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'd watch that.
I wasn't as social back then as I'm not really social now, but I would love to I would love to hear people's opinions on that movie because, like, we went to, like, the midnight show.
Yeah, like the 10 o'clock one, so we're the only ones watching it.
Yeah, I think there's maybe, like, 5 other people in that theater.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, we'll leave on a good note, but one of the free movies that we watched together was Olympus Has Fallen or something.
Yeah.
The one with there was 2 of them that came out at the exact same time.
Yeah, it was White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen.
I think it had the black guy,
Morgan Freeman.
Not Morgan Freeman. Jamie Foxx as the president with Channing Tatum. I think it was one of the Channing Tatum. Because I don't think it was it wasn't the other one. It wasn't.
We're talking about the one where
because then there's
the guy is kind of a disgraced Secret Service guy because they were traveling on an icy road in the blizzard and like the president's wife died and he just couldn't forgive himself for it.
Okay, so that's
that's Olympus Has Fallen.
Okay, well, I think it was the other one.
We didn't go to White House Down.
We didn't go to White House Down. I swear we saw the one with. I've seen both of them.
I mean, they're the same movie.
But anyways, the one scene that it gets me every fucking time.
I know what scene it is.
It's where they're storming the White House. And 3 fucking guys are running up the stairs with rocket launchers. I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do with the goddamn rocket launchers?
I thought it was just one guy.
There was 3 of them.
I thought the 2 guys had assoult rifles and the one guy's got a rocket launcher and he's like following up behind them.
Maybe in my head I changed them all 3. I remember just in my head 3 guys running up with rocket launchers. I'm like, that's not for close range guys.
We got this. I just remember it's either he's following them up, like he's behind the 2 other guys, or he's either in front or back.
I know there's a rocket guy in front because I'm like, why are you saying the rocket guy in front?
Because I thought it was like, oh yeah, got the rocket guy. Maybe there were 3. But, like, you got the 2 behind him, and it's just like, well, that's not going to work. You're just going to hit them. And then you're all dead.
Oh, God.
But yeah, no, that's Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah, so we'll end on a good note. This is actually probably going to be, like, one of the longest ones that we've done.
Yeah, we had a lot of movies to talk about.
So I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't do it too often, but if you guys have movies that you think are awful, leave them in the comments below. We're still iffy on the Corncast. We'll have to talk to everybody next week. There might be somebody might be switching shifts, so it might get a little tricky when to record because I work second shift and the only time I can record is on the weekends. So, we'll have some videos going up eventually. I got a Mega Man one. So I guess I'll tell you off the record. I'll tell you off air. But so this has been the Corn Bros episode 8, 9? I think it's 8 now.
Is it 8? I thought it was 9.
Maybe it is 9.
I thought we caught up.
If we caught up, then we're on 8.
Oh, then it's probably 8 then.
Then it's 8. So it'll be in the title. You guys already
one of them.
You already know before we know. So all right, later guys.
See ya.